My name is Carly Rockett Stewart, and my CIPD number is 90999944. Hi, Doug.
Oh, hi, Carly. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Good, great. Well, thanks for joining for this interview today. So I'm Carly, the people manager here at Gemma Joe. Um, I just wanted to double check. You didn't share any accessibility requests ahead of the interview, so I just wanted to check there wasn't anything you needed before we get started.
No, all's good, thanks.
Okay, great. And I'm just going to be recording the interview if that's okay. It's just so I can refer back to afterwards. It'll be stored in line with all our GDPR, and I can send you the policy afterwards if that's okay.
Yeah, cool. Not a problem.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I am just recording now. And so I'll just tell you a little bit about myself first and then an overview sort of the role, and then we can get started. There'll be some time at the end for you to be able to ask me some questions that you might have as well. We are conducting all the interviews today, so I'll be able to let you know by the end of tomorrow, sort of on the decision that we've made. So I've worked here for 8 years at Gemma Joe. Really hard-working team in the people team. We're all obviously involved across all the areas of the employee life cycle, so the working day can really vary. As the people assistant in this role, you'll be handling a range of responsibilities, including updating the new employee packs, sourcing and delivering training to the administrative work, such as sort of payroll and project work with managers across the organisation. As advertised, is a hybrid role. So we're in the Bristol office 2 days a week, and then the remaining 3 days a week we work from home. And whereabouts are you based?
I'm based near Bath, so getting into Bristol shouldn't be a problem. Obviously, regular trains and what have you. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Could you tell me a little bit like why you were interested in this role?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you would have seen from my CV, I've been working in insurance for the last 3 years. And I've always sort of had an interest in HR work. So I wanted a bit of a change in my career. And so I started my CIPD Foundation certificate last year and was pleased to pass that. That went really well. So now I'm really looking for that move into HR to learn more. And obviously, with my background in insurance, feels like this role and working with Jemmy Joe, sorry, get it right if I get the job, really appealed to me. So yeah, I looking forward to it, hopefully.
Okay. And what parts of the CIPD course did you enjoy the most?
I mean, that's a good question. I think for me, learning about the impact that a HR team can have on a company was really interesting. So many different sort of policies that could directly affect a company's employees. I was particularly drawn to the areas around employee health and well-being. So perhaps working in a more high pressure role led me to that. But being able to influence change in these areas is something I definitely have more of an interest in, and sort of like people management and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting course. Yeah, a good one to have on the CV. Um, and were there any parts of the course that you didn't enjoy?
Uh, Not really, but I mean, obviously, I've had to pick something. I think it's probably what a lot of people would say would be complaints and grievance procedure areas. I know they can be a bit sticky. I think part of that may be a lack of experience in those areas. So it's about building my confidence in dealing with the more difficult aspects of HR, which I'm sort of really up for giving a go.
Great. So part of achieving the sort of high customer service that we expect at Gemma Joe starts with onboarding new employees, really, and sort of ensuring they understand our company values. Um, what experience of onboarding do you have?
So in my current role, I'm mostly working with insurance products in the call center. But when I joined 3 years ago, the onboarding experience really was quite poor, I guess. So I fed that back to my manager at the time, and as a result, I started working with the HR team to try and update their onboarding sort of processes. So as part of that, I supported them with delivering a training manual video that allowed new employees to see different scenarios that we would deal with on sort of a daily basis and how they play out. And then in the last year, I've also been responsible for overseeing training of new staff that joined our team. So I do have some experience of onboarding. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Could you tell me a little bit about your experience using Microsoft Office and sort of particularly Excel, which is something we use a lot of here?
Yeah, I mean, I used Microsoft Office throughout my career, so the last sort of 15 years or so. So I'm confident in using sort of Word and PowerPoint. I use Excel daily. Found myself creating sort of tracking sheets for my team to help us keep on top of targets. I tend to be the person that gets asked for help with an Excel problem. I've sort of found, although I'm not sort of formally trained, I'm quite proactive in going to sort of like learn about different sort of Excel formulas and trying to find solutions within my team. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Do you know what a HRIS is and how it would be used?
Yeah, so that'll be a HR information system. I mean, there are different companies who offer these systems, and my understanding is that they are used to keep track of things like employee information securely, holiday, sickness records, and payroll records. It's not something I've personally used before, but with some training, I'm sure I could get up to speed really quickly.
Great, thank you. Can you give me an example of a HR policy that we at Gemma Joe might need and just sort of a brief reason why it might be required?
Um, I know from experience from working in a call center for an insurance company that it's very high pressured and it can be really stressful for our call advisors. So I'd suggest the wellbeing policy that supports employee mental health, but also physical and social wellbeing would be something that would be very useful. This could focus on factors that contribute to stress, such as excessive workloads or poorly managed rotas. Also, physical aspects like the desk setup or inadequate equipment, so a DSC assessment being formalised within the organisation. Hopefully, this policy would help create better work environment and support employees' overall health, reducing things like sick leave. And I think like when we're thinking about that sort of physical health and desk setup, we might actually want to have different policies for when people are working in the office and those who are working at home, and ensuring that people have the right setups in both spaces, because I know that sometimes can be overlooked
Yeah,
in our new sort of ways of working.
definitely. Great. Can you tell me about a time when you've delivered outstanding customer service?
Yeah, we had a long-term customer who'd be had a house insurance policy for about 20 years with us. So they were a loyal customer. They'd experienced a terrible fire, which caused a lot of damage to the house and then other personal possessions. Understandably, they were completely devastated. Not only did not have a home to go back to, but they had also lost things that they had been building up over their lifetime. So I worked carefully with them, demonstrated a lot of empathy whilst working with through their claim, and obviously made additional effort to try and ensure that their claim was managed very quickly. I mean, they could replace some of those items and arrange for building repairs, within quite a short term for insurance standards.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like it was a difficult one. And sort of what was the impact on the customer and sort of were you happy with the outcome at the end of it?
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with the outcome, and I think the customer would be happy with the outcome of the process, but obviously, like, they're not happy in general because they've just gone through something as significant as that. So, whilst it was a difficult case and the customer was very emotional, they were relieved that I was able to arrange the policy to be paid out within a few weeks. Obviously, some of their personal possessions were difficult to replace, but I was able to work with them to replace some of the more expensive items that were covered in the policy and things like clothes so they could live more comfortably. It's amazing, like how little you have after something like that, and just
Yeah.
like trying to move on is really, really difficult if you're not able to access things you need. So there's a sense of satisfaction for me when the claim was fully resolved, and knowing that I contribute to make things a little bit easier for them during a difficult time. Yeah, I was happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounded like a really difficult one. Sort of hope that you don't have to deal with too many of those in your career, don't you?
Yeah.
Um, so supporting other staff members, including managers, is a key part of this role. Could you give me an example of when you've supported a colleague or member of staff with a task?
Uh, yeah, I was recently asked to assist some HR lead with redrafting our parental leave policy, not been updated for some time. So they asked me to research most current legal requirements, which my CIPD membership came in very useful for. Once I collated the basic legal information and expanded it into a full policy, which I was then responsible for proof checking.
Okay. And sort of what do you think you learned the most from working on that task?
Um, I think the thing for me is like taking practice into doing things in the real world. So it greatly expanded my knowledge on policy writing. And it was really interesting to see the process of taking the basic legal requirements and how HR person can change and personalize it for the organization. So, for example, we ended up actually offering above the minimum paternity leave of 2 weeks. So we actually offered up to 6 weeks fully paid, which was, a real benefit to staff, which sort of not only improves sort of staff well-being and engagement in the organisation, but will also hopefully have an impact on our ability to recruit.
Yeah. Okay, great. And sort of ensuring a happy team, is very important to us at Gemma Joe, sort of, helping to keep our best staff with us. And can you give me an example of some job reward activities you sort of implemented in the past or, that you might suggest?
Yeah, I mean, when researching Gemma Joe, I noticed you have an international presence. So I'd look to introduce a manager nominated employee of the month. This would highlight the various teams, locations, and wide range of roles across the organisation that some employees might not really be aware of. For example, someone in finance might be aware of the great work someone in marketing does. At my organisation, we gave all new employees a branded water bottle, which has proven to be very popular. So something like that would be good to introduce.
Great, thank you. And what is your understanding of GDPR?
Okay. I would describe GDPR as being the legal framework for the handling, use, and storing of personal data. Applying it in an organization such as Jimmy helps to keep trust with customers and employees, ensuring the chances of someone's personal data being misused or leaked is hopefully eliminated, or at the very least, there'll be a plan to deal with it effectively if there is a leak. It can really damage a company's reputation and trust with customers if there was a data leak. So this should be a top priority for teams to deal with.
Great, thank you. So the next question is sort of scenario based. So I just want to sort of get your, response to it. As part of this role, you'll manage routine inquiries. So, a complaint from a customer has been received to you by email, and they're unhappy with the way a call centre customer service employee has handled their claim. What steps would you take before sending a reply to the customer?
Um, I think first off, I'd notify the line manager of the employee that the complaint has been raised against them, and work with the manager to sort of investigate it. I'd refer to the company code of conduct and training materials, see if there's any steps were not followed correctly by the call center employee. I'm assuming that all calls are recorded at Jeremy Joe, so I'd speak with the IT department to look at obtaining a copy of the call to review and follow up with the customer if I need any further information from them to investigate. These pieces of information should give me a picture of how the employee handled the call. So finally, I would also discuss with them how they felt the call went. Then I would be able to make a recommendation to the manager if any further action needs to be taken, such as either warning the employee or perhaps some follow-up training, so some more supportive action. Lastly, I would follow up with the customer to let them know their complaint had been received, what steps were taken to resolve it, and if anything further they wanted to discuss, perhaps even offering them a gift card or discount on a product if they're particularly unhappy still.
Great, thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of the interview. Did you have any questions for me or anything that you didn't, you felt we didn't cover?
Um, I think like I got really like obviously read the job description, I've seen the salary that's on offer, but one of the things that I guess I'm not so clear on is what employee benefits Jimmy Joe has, as I couldn't see anything listed in the job ad.
Okay, yeah. So usually, I mean, that's a great piece of feedback. Thank you. And usually we do tend to include those when we're sort of sending across a sort of a job offer. It would be sort of in the description, but yeah, perhaps that's something we should include going forward. So we have various employee benefit programs, that includes health cover, a cycle to work scheme. We do offer enhanced maternity and paternity leave. And we also have a wellbeing program for staff to access sort of supportive therapies. I can send some further information on those as well, if you just sort of wanted to know. And then obviously I'll be in touch sort of by the end of the day tomorrow, to let you know the decision as well. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's been really nice to meet you and to yeah, get to know you a bit more.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity, and hope to hear from you by the end of the week. Great,
Great. All right, thank you so
thanks.
much. Bye.
Bye.
Here is my decision-making process notes. So Doug was very personable, gave confident answers to most of the questions. Currently works at an insurance company with 3 years of experience, which is obviously very beneficial. He's also recently studied and passed the CIPD Foundation Certificate in People Practice, which is pretty crucial to the role. I think would give him a good start. And he's keen to expand on his knowledge in this area. These both lead me to think that he'd be a really good fit for the role. Despite the sort of basic knowledge in some of the areas such as onboarding, the examples that he gave about supporting HR with onboarding and policy at his current role shows they've got a willingness to sort of get involved and learn and take on responsibility. I really like the answer that Doug gave on HR policy. It was really relevant to our business and showed that they had a good understanding of our employee needs. The job reward activity answer was slightly basic, but it just highlighted that they could benefit from sort of hands-on experience in a role such as this one. And Doug had a great understanding of GDPR and sort of making the link of risk to our business, showed a depth to the knowledge of that. And this scenario-based question was answered really well with a sort of logical and fair approach. Overall, it's a great interview with a candidate who's clearly interested in the role, has knowledge of our industry and sort of has all the skills and experience needed for the role, perhaps just with some training required to sort of fill the gaps in their knowledge and build their confidence in some of those areas. I feel they'd be a great addition to the team and would definitely offer them the role.